Hello, welcome. I'm Commissar Marek, and today we are going to take a look at something a little bit more complex. We are going to be continuing our series on map making, and today what's on the menu is taking a look at custom empires feature that is available to players of Augustus mod. These things are not going to be available obviously to people who are playing vanilla or Julius, since these things are exclusive to Augustus, and that's how that works. What I've done is I've loaded a Valencia scenario, which is included in the base game on the left here in our game, and I have a split screen right now, so you'll have to see all these things. But on the right, I have a file open, which is a custom empires file, and it is .xml file, which means that you stipulate which things are to be included on the map itself. I'm gonna show in practice how that works. Don't get too overwhelmed by what's on the right side. It is just one of my custom empires from my Arrakis map. I'm gonna be using it as an example to show you which different things are possible and how is it possible to make it so that you have your own map with all the different features that are now possible with Augustus mode, such as adding borders, new trade cities, even opening cities in the future when custom events happen. And we'll be touching on custom events themselves in another separate video because it requires a deeper look into that. Now, going into this, I suspect that you will already have a pre-placed or pre-built map with all the terrain features that you will require already designed, and you don't have to worry about local resource availability or all the trade. If you design an Augustus map, that can all go out of the window, since you can all edit that in the XML file. All you need is a robust scenario terrain-wise, and place your invasion points, place your entry point, exit point, place your resource extraction locations like mineable rocks, water, things like that, fertile land, and then the actual events, all of that will be covered separately. And so, if you have made a map, such as I talked about with designing all these different things, you can check the other video I made for Julius for basics of map making, which is going to tell you what is considered good and bad in terms of custom map design. But of course, there could be maps that differentiate from meta, sort of, so to speak, and still can be good, but they require a very, very good and deep understanding of the game to design something that actually is comprehensible and good and enjoyable to play, which is the goal for most maps, I would assume. So without further ado, let's just dive into it. So I would recommend you, if you do that, so get your map, open your C3 Augustus folder, keep your map open on the left, and then keep your custom empires on the right. How you find your custom empires is you go into your C3 folder, which is, I'm gonna just quickly go into mine, and then you want to go down where your folders are. If you have Augustus, you will have a folder that's called, that is the newest unstable branch Augustus, just to be clear. You will have a folder that's called custom empires. You will double click on the folder and it will open up. These are your XML files. So I myself have created YouTube empire.xml, and that's my document I'm using currently. You will always come up with, if you download the game from GitHub, you will always have example empire XML to show you different starting things, but it doesn't cover everything yet. So my hope is going to be to shed some light onto that. So you will open this and you can use the example empire, make a copy of that, and just call it something you want. Usually I would call it the same name as my map is called, so that I easily can see and know what my map is going to be tied with in terms of its empire. So in this instance, I'm just using YouTube empire that's open in my tab here. So let's go into it. So on the right side, you can see that each sentence will be opened and closed with these brackets right here, and that means that it is a command for the game to execute and do to implement what you want, and it has different categories to go through. And so, for example, we have empire version here, show Ireland through, which means in the empire map, if we load it, it will actually show Ireland, and so we might want to have this. So if we choose the custom empire, we can choose the YouTube empire. The reason why we have both open at the same time, by the way, is that we can just troubleshoot things. So if we, for example, want to change something, we can just see the coordinates and save a different city to be a different place, and then we just type these coordinates into the document and then save it, and then it will implement it immediately if we refresh. So that's why to do it, so that's as simple as possible. Okay, so now with this, my layout is looking kind of cursed a little bit. I don't see most of the left of the map, but that's fine. We will assume that we want to make a generic scenario, so I'm gonna be just using whatever I have visible here. If I click on this, of course, I can get the whole empire, and since I have Ireland visible, actually it is here, you actually have Ireland, and it's something that you have to tell the game with this. So just, you know, if you want Ireland, you can add this line. If you don't, then you don't need to have it. It's not like it, unless you're you want to place some cities there, it's not gonna matter otherwise. So, you know, have it or don't have it, depends on you and what your map is really. Okay, I need to just quickly add this back. And so, yeah, Ireland, then there is a category of cities, and this is a very important category, which is the very first one is what is going to be our city name, and our city name is going to be YouTube City. And this city is going to be situated somewhere on the empire map, and so where I want it is, let's just say it's going to be in northern Italy. So let's just place it somewhere where Mediolanum would be, most likely. I'm not sure geographically right now, but just put it like here. So we see that coordinates are on the top left, 683, and the other coordinate is 350. And if we go ahead and see this, so cities, our city is going to be YouTube City, and its coordinates are going to be 683. Just you know, if you click on a map, it will actually have the dot there, and it will keep the coordinates. So current coordinates are where I'm hovering with my mouse, and selected coordinates are where I clicked. And so it is persistent even if I just keep tabbing between the two, so that's useful. And go ahead and add the second set of coordinates, which is 350, and then type, this is ours, so this is our city. If we go ahead and save it, and then we refresh, we should see that our city has in fact been moved over here. And so we can see YouTube City, which is our city, and it currently produces only fish. I just realized something very important I forgot to mention. If you set your city in the custom empires file, which is, in this case, this is a Fairvice custom empire city, but same sort of structure. This is the beginning of the document. There are some borders up there. I'm going to talk about them later. But here you have cities. Your city name is going to be Drobeta, which is going to be located in a set of coordinates. If we open up Trajan's Bridge, Drobeta right here, and you can see that this city actually is our city and it sells things. I didn't talk about this, but it's very important that you can specify which starting resources are going to be available in the city by having the category of what's your city, and then this city subcategory sells, and then you add what does your city sell means what your city will have locally available, including fish, wheat, iron, weapons, all the resources that are in the game. You know, all the food types, all the resource types, everything. With the new resources, you also should add, you know, sand, stone, things like that, just so you can construct monuments as a player. But yeah, this is how you do that. I didn't touch upon that, so just be mindful of that. You of course close this with a slash and cells, so that this category is closed. But one thing to keep in mind is you actually can modify what resources are going to be locally available for your city with events as well. But again, I'm going to touch upon events in a separate thing because it's just too much to get into today. Right, that's what we want. All the trade routes, you can see it's getting kind of messy with the trade routes. I'm going to explain how it works, just don't pay too much attention to that. But this is how you place your city on a map anywhere you could want. Just select the coordinates, add the city there through the file, and then you can double check immediately by saving it and then refreshing the editor so that you can immediately see if it worked or not. Okay, so this is our city still. So after this is the line we just edited, which is YouTube City, which is type ours, and then city, and city name is our home base, which is the first trade option for our custom empire. So let's call it something else. So let's call it Twitch City, and this Twitch City is going to be located somewhere close by, so it's our first land trade route. So let's put it somewhere over here, which is, let's take a look, 694, and the other set of coordinates are 436, and so this is going to be Twitch City. And the trade route type, so opening costs first. that is trade opening cost. And this is going to be how much denarii is it going to cost to open the city. Let's say 200 denarii is enough. Usually for your first opening trade route, you should keep it reasonable so that it's apparent to the player which trade route you want him to go for first. And so we will keep this for 200 denarii. It is going to be a land trade route. If you want it to be sea, you can delete this and type in sea trade route, and then it will require a river entry and exit point on the map to actually be functional, and a dock from the player. And then we can specify what they buy, and so we will make them buy, for example, iron. Just type in iron without any capitalization. Any goods like that are going to be identified from the actual game, and all of it is called like you would think. None of it is like obscure. So iron, and they will buy, let's say, you can even go like, 300. You don't have to go 15, 25 and 40 like it was in vanilla. You can make it by a lot. It will of course mean that caravans will actually struggle to keep this quota up unless the map is specifically designed with that in mind, but you could do this. And so yeah, let's make them buy 300 iron, and let's make them buy let's say 40 or 60 weapons, just for the sake of argument, so it's not the vanilla amount. This weapons, and then amount is gonna be 60. Okay, so this is what it buys. So it opens with buys, then you add the resource type which it buys, and then you close it with buys with the slash, and that's gonna mean that this category is now closed for this city. Okay, so next up, sells. What does this city sell? And so we can make it sell wheat, and it can sell 2,400 wheat, as we'll import our food that way. Maybe could be what we want, so let's just keep that, it's fine. And we close the category with sells with slash again, so that it realizes that we in fact have closed the all the items that this city will buy. And trade points, which means through which place will the city send the caravans on the map. So you can see that this on the left in the actual game, you can see the cities go a certain direction and then they shoot this way through the water. So we don't want that. So our city is going to be somewhere over here. So let's say the trade point should be somewhere in these mountains. And so trade points, we can add several. You don't have to have one, but if you want it to be like staggered, you can do that. But if you want to just have one so that it knows which way to go, you can just guide it this way. But you can add several so that it zigzags through the map. For example, if it's like on the other way of the Europe, you can make it go around mountains and whatever. If you like really are invested into that, you can make it happen with this. Okay, so trade points have been added, and closed with a city with a slash means that this city is now closed, and so we can save this, and then we'll refresh. And we see that there is now Twitch city, which sells a lot of wheat. As you can see, the quota shields are actually different in the custom empire, since it's not applicable to go with 15, 25 and 40 anymore, because that's what vanilla did. But now you have so much more that you actually have more shields added on top of it, and you can sort of interpret how much there is, but it's kind of hard. So if you see golden shields, it's a lot. So when you open it up, you can actually see, if you are playing the map, if you were to open it up, you would actually be able to tell how much they sell. But if you do not have the trade route open, you can only see the shields. So just keep that in mind. And you can see, yeah, there is that card trade route, which is now slightly curved because we added that trade point. And so that's what we have. Now, I'm not gonna bother with the rest of the cities over here, because this is just an example. You can add as many as you want. Just open a new city tab with where is it? Within the cities category, you just add another city like this, and then you just copy and paste, and then you rename all the things and change its name and change its coordinates, and then you're good to go. So I might actually show you again. So if I want to get another city, I could just very easily get city name and then copy from there all the way up to the exit of that, and then we'll copy that and paste it. Make sure there is a gap so that it doesn't get messy. So 2 enters, and then enter a new city, and this one, let's call it something else. Let's call it Marek city, and this one is gonna be, let's build it for the sake of the argument, just make it happen so that we can actually see it works. So 739, and the other coordinates is gonna be 414, and this one is gonna cost 1,000 denarii. and it's gonna be a land trade route. It buys, let's keep it, let's make it by clay, and let's make it by pottery. We can change the quota slightly, so let's make this one 120, let's make this one 200, and then it will sell us vegetables, and they will sell us 2,400 just to sustain the city without agriculture. Trade points, so we want the trade route to go through here, for example, and so we will add a trade point of 728, and the other set of coordinates are 80, and this is enough. So we will go ahead and delete all the surplus cities. These are the cities from my custom empire I added before. You don't have to have as many, depends on your map, but you might not want as many as I had. So I'm just gonna go ahead and search for all of them, and that's it, I think. Oh yeah, there are other cities down here I'm gonna explain. So there are different types of cities, but these are trade cities. So yeah, we've done that, and now we will save the document. Yes, and then we will refresh. And when we refresh, the city is gonna show up. I deleted the other ones, which is perfect. That's what we want. We also have the other cities I had from my original scenario here. We will reposition these, because you can also add empire borders as well as these untradeable cities, which could eventually open up for trade as well. And you could also have just distant cities, which is from where enemies usually come from. So you can make invasion points happen on the empire map when invasion approaches the city. Where are the invasion points, the cursed swords gonna happen on increments towards the city. You could even make it so that the different invasions will be timed with the actual invasions on the city map from a certain direction, so that you give a player a hint from which direction, like, you know, north, south, east, or west, the enemy invasion comes from on the world map. It will enter it from the same way on the actual city map. But it's a lot of work, but you could go the extra mile and do it if you really want to. So now we see Marek City here, which buys different things, and it immediately implements the changes we've done here. So now that's done, let's take a look. So city name, there's another city, and it's let's rename this, and this is gonna be distant city 1, and distant city 1 is gonna be somewhere beyond the Alps, and let's make it so that it has the proper coordinates, which is gonna be 582. And the other set of coordinates are 247, and then it's a type distant, which means it's this yellow city. Okay, if we want more, we could add more. I don't want more necessarily, so I'm just gonna delete this one because I don't want another yellow one. But you could add a lot of them if you want, and that could be good for your campaign to give it proper. If you base it in history, you could emulate Roman Empire at the time. That's usually regarded very well if you really go the extra mile and do your research and try to implement as much as possible. It really adds that extra little bit of flavor. So we'll save this document just so that we see it worked. We should always after each step do that so that you don't mess up. And yeah, now we have distant city 1, which is over the beyond the Alps here. So we have that. Now we have another thing, which is city name, and this is Arakin from my Arrakis map, and we will call this future trade city 1, and we will be adding this city somewhere close by, possibly on, actually let's add it on Corsica. Let's make it so that it is 625 coordinates by 498. Again, I see them on the top left, so that you select a tile with the cursor, you click, and then you have them selected at all times and can just type them easily. And so this future city is type vulnerable, which means it's gonna get attacked by enemies if there is a distant battle event where you need to save a distant Roman city. The city would get threatened. In the hindsight, I could have probably placed it somewhere not on an island, but whatever. For the sake of this tutorial, it's gonna suffice. So this is gonna be a vulnerable city. So if we have distant battle events, the enemies will threaten this city. Okay, So cities, invasion paths. Right, so we can do this as well. That's actually quite handy. First we will save this document again, and we will refresh, and we can see that now there is a distant Roman city here, which we cannot trade with yet, and it also will be threatened one eventually if we have the distant battle events. So with the cities tab closed, now we have invasion path category open, and path is where the actual path will begin and end, and you can have several possible paths. And so this one is going to threaten this city, or rather it's gonna go toward your city, and usually it's gonna head from the yellow one towards your own. And so first swords, let's add them like somewhere here in the Alps. And so the path is gonna be battle, and it's gonna be 602 by 287. Then another closer one is gonna be here, which is gonna be 626 and 320. And then the last one is gonna be right outside the city, which is going to be at 653 and 350. Actually, something to note, I've seen this happen, that the first one you add is actually the last one. So just test it. If it happens that they get switched and the distant battle, which is the furthest enemy armies away, should be here, but instead it gets spawned here, the swords, you can just switch these around and switch the locations of them, and they will do it properly. So just keep that in mind. And now we can refresh. Actually, save the document. I'm not sure if I did that. And then refresh, and then toggle invasions. And 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So it looks like that's correct. And so invasions are gonna be here. And okay, invasion points, invasion paths. Those are actually the ones that are so relevant. The battle path, I'm gonna just remove the second one. I only want one on this one. Just for an example, you can add as many as you want. So invasion paths, which is actually where this is the category that's closed, and then distant battle paths. Sorry, distant battle paths are the paths that the enemies take to besiege a distant Roman city that you are supposed to save. So in this instance, it would be the future trade city one. So we want to make sure that it goes from somewhere. If we, for example, had another yellow city somewhere here, where Massilia is, for example, and have them launch an invasion towards it, we would want to add the invasion paths, distant battle paths, towards these locations. So the first cursed swords would be placed at 534, and then the other one is 461. And then waypoint, you can have waypoints so that the enemies can go through until they reach the city incrementally. That's how it works in the campaign. If you ever watch that, when you send your own force to intercept the barbarians, your little legionary will appear on the map and walk towards this distant city to save it, and the enemies will also have their barbarian on the map, which is gonna go towards the enemy, or towards the distant city to besiege it. And so whoever reaches it first will win the battle, most likely. Otherwise, if you reach it in time, you will have to fight the enemy force, and either you are strong enough or you're not. I covered that in military video separately, not gonna go in that on it here today. But if you don't reach the city, then obviously the barbarians win just straight up. They don't have to actually fight your army. So we can go ahead and add their waypoints if we want to. And so waypoint number 1, we've seen that it starts here, so let's add a waypoint in the sea somewhere. And so the waypoint number months, so after 4 months, the barbarian is going to advance to this point, which is going to be 552 by 465, and then the other one, the last one before they arrive, is going to be right outside the shore, which is going to be after another 4 months, and that's going to be 587, and the other one is going to be 492. Now this does depend, like how long you make these waypoints actually depends, because it matters, because that's how long it will take the enemy army to arrive to the city. So if you make it very short, then they will go there very quickly and you will not be able to save the city. So at least give it 4+ months for each waypoint, preferably, so the player has an option to actually save the city. Okay. And oh yeah, so I just made a mistake over here. So just whatever that would, all the things I did would apply to anime start, which is right here, path type anime. So if it's a path type Roman, it means that's your forces that would be going to save the city. So let's just quickly fix that. Since we made a mistake, that's fine, that happens. So we will be doing 677 and we will be doing 387. So that's going to be our first incremental step towards saving it. Then on the shoreline, somewhere over here, so that the second one is set to be 664 and 423, and then the last one before we save it is going to be somewhere in the sea, and it's going to be 645 by 468, and then that's going to be our soldiers going to save the city, and then the enemy is going to go from over here, which is they'll start at, the enemy starts at 534, and it go the second coordinate is 439. And waypoint, it has 10 months to go, so that you want to give them, the barbarians are gonna take slightly longer than it would take you to reach the city to save it, because otherwise the barbarians always win. So give the player at least 2 or 3 months reaction time, otherwise they will not be able to do it properly, because soldiers need to actually physically leave the map to appear on the campaign map. So just keep that in mind. So type anime start, and let's put it on, oh yeah, we already did a start actually, so waypoint is 567 and the other coordinate is 469. Okay, and that's it. So let's save it, and now if we refresh, we toggle invasions, refresh, now we see the barbarians are gonna go this way, and the further they get, oh yeah, I actually should have gotten the end. Yeah, the waypoint actually is the end here. So the proper way to do that would be to get the last one exactly on top of the city, so that they end there and not in the middle of the ocean right here. But you get the gist, right? It's not that complicated. Just get this to be where the city is, somewhere nearby like this, and that's gonna do it. So yeah, that's how it works with the custom empires. You can make some pretty interesting things. You can name the cities whatever you would want. You can name your city whatever you would want. You can make so many other cities on the map that are eventually gonna also open up. That's something I will need to touch upon, so just I'll take a minute to just look it up so that I don't mislead you. Okay, I managed to find it. So right here in this document I have a city of Arakin, which I'm gonna highlight this, and it is a future trade city type, future trade, and that means that it will be the teal city, which means distant Roman city, which is not interactable with in the game from the start, but it's gonna be, you can specify trader opening costs for it, you can specify which type it is, if it's land or sea, like if any other trade city, and what kind of things it will buy eventually once it opens up, and you can open it up with events, which I'm gonna touch upon in another video, but just this is how you do it if you want to have cities that are from the start locked and then they become available once the player does certain things. Then you can do it this way, so that you add future trade as into the city itself when you create the city in the custom empires. So you can have multiple of them if you want, different types of trade routes, and they can unlock only after certain things are fulfilled as conditions, which I'm going to talk about when the events come into play. I'll also think about the borders. I don't know if it's too important to include that, but you could paint borders on the map where the Roman Empire had its borders, and it might be something that you might actually want. Also, there is an option to add ornaments to the map, so I'm gonna just look these two things up again and just come back in a minute. For you it's gonna be a second due to the magic of editing. If you wish to create multiple distant cities in the empire that are not interactable with, just distant Roman cities that are not gonna be vulnerable, therefore they're not gonna get invaded by barbarians, but they're just gonna be there for flavor, you can easily do that very quickly. We're just adding a category, so city, and then you go with type Roman, and then you can add a lot of cities like this just by having lines. You don't have to end the type Roman and just add more and more and more, and these are gonna get implemented right away. And so you can have lots of cities, like even 10, 20, 30, how many you want, and just name them historically and then place them with the coordinates, and that's how that's gonna work, so that you don't have to make every city vulnerable. That would not really make sense, and it would be a pain for you should only make 1 or 2 vulnerable cities to save from the barbarians, really, so that you have the pre-planned barbarian waypoint, so that it reflects reality on the map when the barbarians are approaching, so that it doesn't go somewhere where it actually is not, as a that event to save the distant Roman city. So and this is how the border will look like. I've sourced this from Fairby's, one of Fairby's cities, from his custom empires file. And so you have, on the very beginning, you would enable ornaments, which is ornament type, which is if you want on the map of the world to have like the little ornament of a palm tree and or a ship or things like that that are on the empire map where you plan the campaign, you can just enable it and it's going to be there. And you can also go ahead and add border density, and this is how close together the flags are going to be. And then you are going to go ahead and type in coordinates of each individual border point, and so you can go ahead and add these with where is the border gonna go one by one, and just take into account where the points are, and that will create a continuous border, and then you can save and refresh, and it's gonna actually show you if it's correct or not. And this is how you can do borders. I don't really do them for my own cities, it's like way too much work for me, but some people really enjoy it, and so you can do it this way. And you can also hide them. If you hide points, it's gonna mean that if you want to break up the border when there is water, for example, you can make it so that it goes here, then disappears, and then you mark the border to go this way, and then it continues like down here, and then it disappears into the water by having hidden through. It means that from this point until this, it's actually going to be hidden. Or sorry, this specific one that you add is going to be hidden. The next one, if it's not hidden, it means that it's actually visible. So it's just for this one. But this is how you do it. If there's sea breaking up your border, you make them invisible when the borders actually go through the sea regions. Now, I also wanted to show you something else, which was, let's check out Fairby City. There might be the other thing I wanted to show you. You can see he has lots and lots and lots of cities on his map. Like, this is a lot of things. I actually think we covered everything with what's possible in custom empires. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. Leave me a comment, let me know what you need. If you want these custom empire examples, you can join our Discord. And in Discord, you can actually grab the file which is going to have Fairby's example empires with all these things in it. And so you can just take it and use it for yourself, but of course don't just copy paste, but make it your own. Don't just steal other people's things, but use it for creating your own things. That's what it's for. And I hope that I will see you next time in the next video, which is going to be on custom events, which I'm very excited about because it's very complex and adds another whole layer of options to the map making, and it actually will allow us to make the use of some of these things we pre-planned here. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching. See you around. Bye.